Good day, friends, and welcome to TBN Meet. Today in studio, I'm joined by a man whose career spans over many years, with songs attracting global success long before even the rise of the internet. Now, since his major label debut as frontman for the internationally renowned GMA Dove Award-winning South African rock band 363 in 1999, John Ellis has become a stalwart of the artistic and songwriting community. An ASCAP Award-winning songwriter, Ellis has garnered massive radio success both locally and internationally. As a matter of fact, John has shared the stage with the likes of Mad Redman, Delirious, the Newsboys, Vusi Matlasela, and many more. Now, after 363, he returned home to South Africa in 2010 from the USA. Apart from apart from him being a songwriter and a skilled guitarist, John is a full-time parent, he says, and there's also a part-time lecturer. So today, we get the opportunity to catch up with him and to also hear all about his new album, solo album, Growing Silent.
Yes.
Is this your, like your third or fourth solo?
It's actually my fourth solo album, but the first one that's specifically for the church. You know?
Yeah. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, and before we get to that, I want to just hear about the title, Growing Silent.
This is actually one of the songs on the album, Growing Silent, which I wrote a long time back when I was still in 363 in America.
Yeah.
And I felt like, you can imagine a person looking at the universe and getting more and more amazed by what they see in terms of the physical makeup of the universe, planets and stars. And if we look at God in a similar way, the longer we stare, the longer we immerse ourselves in God, the quieter we get, just in awe. You know, this sense of awe sets in and we stop our noise and us telling God what we think about him all the time and praying and all the noise that comes from a human being. And we just sit quietly in silence, just gazing on God, gazing on his creation. I think that's something you get to as you've been walking with God for a long time. You start out with so much passion and noise and it's great.
Yeah.
But the older we get, the more quieter we become, because it's in silence, I believe, that we really hear God very accurately.
And I think that's amazing, because many times, and you're right, we'll wake up in the morning, we'll read what we want to read, we'll pray, and then we won't take time to even sort of listen to God. And you feel that that's something that's sort of happening more and more in our culture of Christians these days.
Yeah, absolutely. We live in a noisy generation. We're generating noise. Even Christians, it's a human nature thing. We live in a generation that's got more access to technology information than any previous generation in the history of human beings. It's not just audible noise, it's visual noise. We are surrounded with the stuff that's drawing our attention all the time. To switch off from that and close our eyes and know that even with the eyes closed, we are still in the presence of God. It's quite a skill these days. It takes skill, it takes some thinking about. And I think it's something I've noticed with me as I've started retreating from the noise of the world. I'm able to focus on God a bit more accurately. Yeah.
So what's your message? I mean, if you had to kind of take all the songs that are in here, in this album, Growing Silent, and you would say, this is the message of this album.
It's hard to say, because I didn't really say I'm trying to say this particular thing with this song or this album. Generally, I would say, here's a collection of songs about what it means to follow God, what it means to live as a Christian. And so there's multiple messages. There's some messages here that let's make noise. There are some messages here that say let's be quiet in front of God. It's the journey of a Christian over a day,
So how did it come about?
Actually, so 2014, 3 years ago, whatever it was, I wrote most of these songs. Some of them I wrote with Matt Redman a few years before that.
Yeah.
I just collected a bunch of songs and I recorded demos of them and then sort of just left them and just letting God do what he wants with them. One of these songs ended up on the 2015 363 album we did.
Wow.
And I just left the songs sitting on the shelf, and then it felt like it was time to release them. I don't know why not before. I don't know why now. It just felt like the right season.
But that's usually the right time, though. Usually the right time. There's, you stated, and you said this kind of earlier on, that this is a congregational album. Which kind of makes it interesting, because then the question is, oh, so the other stuff wasn't necessarily congregational, you know? So what makes this one then a congregational album?
Well, this is specifically written for a modern church environment, whereas my other solo stuff has been more singer-songwriter stuff, some pop stuff. But writing for the church is a very specific thing. People like Matt Redman and Martin Smith from Delirious, those are the guys who I learned from. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm particularly good at it, but I have tried. And I've written songs that have been sung in churches before. And so these are just more songs that are geared specifically to be sung in a congregational environment. Not all of them. Some of the songs are also a bit confessional.
Yeah.
I like mixing it.
Okay.
But yeah, generally these are set and written specifically for a community of people to sing together.
Some people out there would be like, okay, cool. No, I didn't know that there's actually like a difference in Christian songs. What are the other ones? So you get congregational, and you mentioned one type as well.
Confessional.
Confessional.
Confessional songwriting is way more personalized, and it's something that, for example, secular artists like Bob Dylan first invented, where you're singing about you yourself and what you've been through specifically. It's like almost like singing a diary entry, you know? It's quite private. It's not something that everyone can relate to in that moment, but it's very personal, but it means something for you. There's value in those songs too. But writing for the church, a worship on a Sunday morning or Sunday evening or a worship conference is another specific kind of songwriting. And you have to take a lot more factors into account in terms of lyric writing and melody and chord structure. It's a different kind of writing. I think it takes a different kind of skill. And people, again, like for me, Matt Redman is somebody who really taught me a lot when I was younger.
So it's an actual skill. I mean, like, and it's not something that you just do and it suddenly just happens.
No.
It's it sounds like it's a decision you have to make that I'm going to write this type of song now and then kind of go for it. That's new to me. I mean, I've been singing for so many years.
Well, it's funny because so we spent many years in the States.
Yeah.
And I spent a lot of time with other songwriters, and I'd see how this happened. You know, so I can write a confessional kind of song about. Which I did. One of my earlier songs with 363 was called Look What You've Done. And it's sung in a lot of churches now, but it's quite awkward because the lyrics go, look what you've done for me. Your blood has set me free. Those things can mean a lot to other people. But I was literally singing out of a journal entry that I had just written that day. Singing what I'd written on a page. It wasn't meant to be a song, you know. And that song was still quite private to me because it was really me singing to Jesus just one-on-one.
Wow.
You know, the fact that it had some life in the church beyond that was amazing because I didn't know anything about worship writing. But writing a worship song for a huge congregation that's got demographically very diverse, racially very diverse, culturally, it's quite tricky.
John, you need to do workshops on this. We have to, okay? No, I mean, like, because I'm sure there are many people watching now, and they're like, oh my word, I didn't know that actually, you know, I've always wondered, why are my songs not sung at churches? Maybe there's worship, you know, there's worship leaders out there who are like, we want to write songs for our church, but why aren't our songs sort of sticking as well? Yes, it's anointing, but maybe you just need to just know how to do it.
Yeah, there's a lot of anointing in it, but there's also the talent God gives you. It's not just waiting for God to anoint you with a song. The talent you have needs to be stewarded and shepherded in a certain way. So that when anointing is there, those two things meet and there's a real meeting of God and talent and all those things, you know.
But now here's the other thing, right? And I guess speaking of workshops, you're actually teaching as well at the moment.
I'm teaching right now, people.
Yeah, right now. Well, there you go. But tell us something like how you sort of got into lecturing. Actually.
Yeah, so in my family there's teachers. My dad was a headmaster of a high school, and he was a member of parliament. So there's we like the sound of our own voice in our family, you know. And when I finished my university degree, I did a diploma in teaching English as a second language, and I just left it. Okay. I did music all these years. And then in 2010, I had an opportunity to teach at Durban University of Technology. They wanted someone to teach English. Okay. And I'm really interested in culture and language and people and South African culture rebuilding itself, you know. So I went along and I taught at DUT, which is like the Wild West. It's like
this was in
2010.
Yeah.
And I got an experience just being in front of students, not singing, you know, not being musical, not talking about church things necessarily, which I'd done before, just talking other things, and no guitar on me, nowhere to hide, just me and my brain.
Wow.
And it was quite scary, but I've enjoyed the classroom. Okay. I enjoy ideas. I enjoy getting feedback from students, and so over the years I've just done more and more of that. You know?
It's amazing. So that's the year that you came back.
No, actually earlier, but 2010 was the year where I did my first solo album and started teaching, lecturing. Okay. So some things began for me then. You know?
So how has it been? I mean, for you, you'd been away for how many years in the States?
Yeah, it felt like an eternity.
Yeah.
We started traveling there in 2000, and it was roughly 7 or 8 years, maybe 9 years. We were back and forward. You know?
Yeah. And how has it sort of been, like sort of being back in Africa, and kind of doing what you're doing? Because I'm sure you're at a moment now where, you know, like it's the silent moment.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that's where the name of the album kind of came from. You know.
I don't know. It's been a huge readjustment because Africa moves at Africa's pace and does things in an African way compared to the West, which America epitomizes. You know. So America runs at a certain level and it's running 24/7, 365 days a year. Yeah. Africa likes to stop and rest, which I think is God's a good idea. But so music here runs it differently, and it's been a readjustment physically, emotionally, spiritually. But I'm way more suited to here than I was to America, for example. I felt like I'm just built to run at this pace. So I'm very happy where I am right now.
And you never thought, okay, things are going kind of fine, but maybe I should have stayed, or I should have...
No, I've never thought that.
Wow.
We worked so hard in America. I came back, I felt like I needed 7 years rest.
Wow. And let's talk about your journey then, from T63. So I must say, it's not an easy one for me to say, you know.
No one...
Because I need to say T63.
Everyone struggles.
Or 363.
I still struggle.
Your journey from then up and, you know, like up until now.
So 363 had a very specific agenda.
Okay.
We were a rock and roll band, but only 3 of us. And this agenda was to make a very big noise for 3 people. In an old-fashioned rock and roll kind of way, like the bands we enjoyed when we were kids, like U2 and the Police. You've got the primary colors of rock and roll: guitar, bass, and drums. Yeah. And then one singer. And it's very limited. Okay. And the challenge was to sing songs with lots of energy, lots of noise, lots of vitality, and sing about this new thing I'd found, which was Jesus. Right? I only became a Christian when I was 26, 27, 26. So that was 363's agenda. A big sounding band and big environment, encouraging lots of people. But you do grow and mature as a musician and an artist, right? And you start looking for new challenges. Yeah. So the new challenge for me after that was to go, I feel like I've achieved what I wanted to achieve with that musical environment. Let me try something different. And one of the things I wanted to try was confessional singer-songwriting, more like Bob Dylan and those kind of guys that I respected later on, Tom Petty, you know. So I did that.
And that's what I learned today. Confessional
singer-songwriting. I confess.
You know?
So I did that, and I've produced other people's work instead of doing my own. I don't play live so much anymore. I've been lots of studio work, evolving as a guitar player, you know. And then so I just feel like if the journey stays static and you stay in one place, you know, if you just do one kind of music one way for years and years, you can get very tired. Yeah. God's about renewal.
No, I mean, look, you're preaching to the choir, you know? I think my style changes every 2 years.
Exactly.
So what are you doing now? I don't know. Let me just look at my diary, you know? But how was your relationship? How has your relationship sort of changed? Because I'm sure, like, you know, you go through many lessons and as you move into different seasons or into different phases in your life, that there's a shift, whether good or bad, you know, in your relationship with God. And how has it sort of been for you in these like past 7 years?
Wow, it's been challenging. I've had some personal things to deal with that I feel has sometimes been quite tricky to reconcile with what I've been taught in church. I've had to reconcile new ideas of what church used to look like and should look like, and this is going wrong, this could be better, this is great. I've had to reconcile lots of things. Plus I meet lots of people who aren't Christians, and I've been challenged with how I talk to them about Jesus, what I believe. It's good, it's stretching and growing. Not always in comfortable places, you know. Sometimes I felt in America and the churches and environments we were at, we were always a little bit too comfortable. There was no challenge anymore. Sure. I really, really strongly believe in God shifting and challenging us and breaking old things and building new things. The redemption of God, you know. But in order to be redeemed, you've got to be broken first, you know. True. I like the idea of the fact that we look for resurrection, but we forget there's crucifixion first. True. And then our walks with God, there's a constant crucifixion, resurrection. It's the flow of life, you know. And I think in America we got a bit too comfortable with resurrection. And you know, God, they're looking for problems, but the point is when things are hard, that's where God really is pulling you through something old into something new.
Yeah.
And so learning that in my walk with God and learning to trust God through that, it was hard. But nothing worth having is easy, right?
No, man, absolutely. But now here's the thing, right? And I guess it probably kind of goes the same for, you know, for someone like you in your position, and maybe to a small extent, you know, like someone in mine, is the fact that as you live your life, you're living out in front of, you know, you're living it out like in front of people.
Yeah.
In other words, like your growth is also through that.
Yeah.
And having checked around sort of, you know, what the media says, and this is not secular media, this is Christian media. They'll always kind of go after you, you know, for things that you say. Some of them, you know, some of them, I mean, there's certain things that I've said before that there's sometimes like, you know, like I'd regret. But the thing is, but at that time I didn't, because I've now grown out of that.
Yes.
Chances are people think about that sort of stuff all the time,
Yeah,
you know?
sure.
So what's your feeling? I mean, like, what's your feeling towards that, really?
You know, unfortunately, although we have Jesus, subconsciously, I think human beings are still looking for a savior, something to represent Jesus on earth. And us evangelicals, Protestants who are non-Catholics, we don't have a pope to look to, so we look to leadership. And sometimes we put too much emphasis on pastors and leaders. We are human beings.
True.
Fame and celebrity are not natural things for human beings. God didn't design us to be famous. Every time Jesus was confronted with the idea of you the Son of God or the King of Israel, he walked away, remember?
He said, don't tell anyone.
Yeah, he walked away and he disappeared in the crowd. He resisted it. Us human beings, it's too tempting. We like sometimes a bit of attention.
I mean, like, we'll leave there. You know, I think there's one time actually when the demons say, we know you are the Son of God. Shut up and get out. You know what I mean?
there's something about just quietly.
Yeah.
But I think we look too much at other Christians who have some kind of public platform to be an example for us. Where actually we can, you know, God is within us. God wants to draw us personally, not copy someone else's walk. Human beings, all of us stumble. We get so disappointed when our Christian hero stumbles, because we think, oh, now I can't believe in Jesus anymore because my favorite singer fell, or my favorite pastor, which is nonsense. We put too much emphasis, I think, on each other's examples. So it's difficult, and we live in the age of celebrity. We live in the age of selfies. We are the most self-oriented generation in the history of human beings. It's hard to just take a step back and stop wanting the authority of God from someone else. We need to find it in ourselves. You know? Yeah.
So where do you feel that this phase of your life is kind of going to lead you to?
Wow, it's so interesting. There was a time where I used to say, all right, God, I want this to mean this, and I want to be here in 5 years. I've stopped that completely now. Now I go, God, today is today. This is the day the Lord has made. I'll rejoice and be glad in it. Tomorrow, take no thought about tomorrow. I try not to be too concerned with where things are going, rather than just enjoy where I am right now. So yeah, I'd like to be here and here and here, but I have no longer a sense of, oh, God, I'm waiting for tomorrow to come. I'm trying to learn about today. You know?
And you're not the first person that I'm actually hearing that from. I think in the past 2 days, I've probably heard about a good, maybe 2 people say exactly the same thing.
Wow, that's great.
And it must be a scary place to be.
It is, because
in a way,
because we are so conditioned to all have 5-year plans for our lives. I want to be here, and those are important things. It's good to plan, but wow, we miss now.
Yeah, true.
The present's called the present because it's a gift.
True.
The present is the moment. Right now, sitting with you, well, here we are. This is it.
Yeah.
But we tend to look at what it's going to look like later, what's it going to sound like later, instead of enjoying this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. What is that one thing, right, that you've discovered, that you, I mean, and one thing that you discovered, right, in your walk, that you wish that people would just begin to know?
I think, in terms of the title of this album, one thing I found is I'm more and more comfortable as I get older with not knowing.
Yeah. Okay.
We live in a generation that wants to know information, and we have more information again about the Bible than we've ever had before. But there's something about the mystery of God that still eludes us, and it's important to allow God to be God and mysterious sometimes. And a lot of that comes from silence. Sitting quietly in silence is a hard thing to do for human beings.
Yeah.
We are overstimulated all the time. So I find I'm more and more comfortable as I get older to go, I don't know the answer to this. I don't know exactly what God's doing right now, but I'm in faith with it. Instead of saying, oh, well, Ephesians 5:17, and having an answer all the time, which is what you do when you're a bit younger. I think as you get older, you learn to be quiet a bit more and let God's going, enough, just let me do it.
And let's speak a little bit about sort of the messages behind each song that you wrote.
Okay.
I mean, like, I know that you said it's really a collection of songs, and this is the title. But there must be, maybe you can probably just give me just 3 songs.
Okay.
From here.
Yeah.
I want to ask you to sing them now.
No, please. Won't be able to
But
do
maybe
that.
the ones that sort of, that sort of jump out at you,
Yeah.
that you want to just kind of share briefly on.
Okay, there's a song on there called Believe.
Yeah.
And there was a time after I came back from America where Christians who were used to 363 saying a certain thing,
Yeah.
they started hearing things about me and thinking, does this guy still believe? So there was a question mark about whether John Ellis was still a believer.
Wow.
And so that song was me preaching to myself first, and then also letting people know that I still believe.
Wow.
So it's almost like a confessional song that somebody could sing in a church environment. Another song on there, it's called Anywhere and Everywhere. That's a song I wrote with Matt Redman in 2005. Now Matt is somebody who knows the words for old European English hymns, like backwards. This guy has got a reservoir of old hymns, which are like poetry from 19th century stuff in his head, and he can draw from.
Wow.
And so that particular song is an example of Matt just pulling this beautiful
And what's the name of the song?
words out of the air, And then
And the name of the song is?
Anywhere and Everywhere.
Okay.
And then another song there was called The Feast. And the chorus goes, until we are all seated at the table of God, we can't be satisfied. Our salvation is not just for us. The feast of God is for everyone. And until everyone's sitting eating, we should still be out there inviting people, rather than sitting enjoying and hoping people will come when they're ready. We can't be satisfied until everyone's in God.
Wow.
So those kinds of sentiments,
Wow, that's amazing. Well, man, I can't wait to hear the rest of the album.
Well, be careful. It's rock
As
and roll,
well.
brother.
Ah, come on, man.
We
rock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we do, man.
You know what, there's
Anyway, it's not that loud. It's called Growing Silent. So.
Good point. The half the album is just quiet.
You know what I mean? it's just noise. So that's awesome. No, man, it's going to be great. Thanks so much, John, for coming onto the show.
Thank you, brother.
But before you leave, I want to ask you just, whatever's in your heart, if maybe there are just worship, like worship leaders, artists out there who just need just some encouragement, Wow. What's probably the greatest lesson, not necessarily the greatest lesson, but anything that you feel you'd like to share from your heart to them?
I think as I look at the modern worship music industry the way it is right now, the fact that the words worship and industry are in the same sentence is a problem for me. We are so used to creating products that we sell to other Christians. We forget that these things are actually holy things for God. And we get caught up in the sale of it and dressing up and the showbiz of it.
Yeah.
And we need to be careful. We need to prepare ourselves for the fact that there is quiet worship and worship that happens off the stage quietly when we're not dressed for the stage with our favorite guitar on. That is more important than what we do on the stage. And I think it's important to reflect where we are and where we're going. I think I worry sometimes that the element of entertainment and showbiz has crept so much into modern church culture that we are in danger of forgetting the fact that if we're not before God personally on a daily basis, all we're up there is pretending.
Wow.
And man, there are too many people out there pretending. We need to bring something new and authentic back to the church, and they can only come from authentic personal experience of God.
Wow. Hashtag note to self. It's not about the church CD.
Brother, it's hard. I'm preaching to myself right now.
Which is exactly what you did on this album, John. Thank you so much for coming, man. I appreciate
Awesome
it, brother. And all the best, man.
Yeah, thank you.
On your plans for today.
Awesome. Today's the day.
It's all about today.
This is the day.
Well, John Ellis's album called Growing Silent, it is available at Kum stores and on iTunes as well. So make sure that you head over there and get yourself a copy and be absolutely blessed by this album. I'm surely looking forward to hearing all the songs that are on there and to just be blessed. So to end off, here is a song from the album, and this one is called Mercy. Hope you enjoy and that hope you are blessed. From all of us right here at TBN in Africa, it is TBN Meets. Good night and God bless.